Chapter 10. Deep under the Cardiff Millennium Center. "I'm busy," Jack Harkness shouted over his shoulder, letting Gwen Cooper, his only remaining partner from the previous incarnation of Torchwood, know that he was on the phone.
"Oi, that CIA bloke is on his way back, so we need to hurry. Look at this shite right now."
The attractive Welsh woman turned the monitor to face him. The leader of Torchwood glanced at the TV over his propped-up feet. On screen was the British skyline, which, as usual, depicted the bustling city on a normal, overcast day. It wasn't long, however, before a shadow was cast over London Tower, over the river, over the London Eye, and then, unapologetic, spread across the rest of the crowded London town. A reporter, looking horrendously tired, murmured in a solemn voice,
All mobile videos captured by locals over the past few minutes, although authorities, including UNIT, are on the scene. Again, reports are coming from everywhere in the city of sightings of what appears to be an alien vessel hurtling through British airspace. It is clearly on fire. Among dealing with this strange Miracle Day phenomenon, England must now contend with what appears to be a flaming spaceship, dangerously close to crashing into London.
Jack put a finger on his ear, shaking his head. "Where are you?"
"France.
"When?"
1767, I'm pretty sure,"
came the time agent's breathy response.
"What nexus year did I patch through to?"
2011. Why do you sound like you're running?
"Because I am running,"
Saber panted.
"in ancient France."
She pumped her legs at a superhuman rate, and had been doing so for the past several miles. What happened? The beautiful yet beleaguered time agent spat.
"Deceit's Evertardis whipped my ass across the countryside. I wanted to know—"
Jack interrupted. "Hold on a sec, Saber?" He covered the mouthpiece of his communicator. "What?" Gwen tilted her head. She pointed at her watch. They needed to leave, like, now. She urged him up.
"Have you seen Traveler?"
Saber demanded. Jack rolled his eyes and stood, walking briskly as he returned his attention back to the phone.
"Who now?" "The Time Lord I was keeping an eye on."
Saber reached the clearing in darkness. It was empty, the fire long since dead. The time agent withdrew her psychic glass from her ear. She paused to arch her back and fix her hair before again furiously typing on her specially made tele-sci computer system. Surveying the site of the brief battle between Traveler with Purge and Deceit with her Evertardis through semi-transparent futuristic device, the time agent watched the replay of the entire incident. Eventually, the embattled Purge vanished with Deceit's time machine ensnared, yet in hot pursuit. Not long after, the man in red materialized to pick up the unconscious Valentine and Jade. Then he just took off. The erstwhile Time Lord clearly too busy for the stranded time agent with the drained vortex manipulator. Saber sighed heavily. She heard Jack shuffling on the other end of the line. Finally, Harkness responded. "Oh, that short, limey doctor wannabe in the cheap blue suit?" Saber seethed in anger. "That's the one." Her eyes turned silver. Jack stood outside of Torchwood on Millennia Plaza with Gwen, alongside the enormous crowd that had gathered to witness the spectacle overhead. Fully ablaze, headed toward them at a steady downward arc, was the UFP SS Coriolis Charybdis. "Haven't seen him, honey," Jack answered. Click. The deep space vessel was heading straight for Torchwood, Cardiff headquarters on a collision impact trajectory. Aboard the bridge was chaos in the form of ambient screeching noise, heat, endless yelling from the crew, sparks, and fire. In the middle of it all, furiously running around from terminal to terminal, worked the man in red, stopping to check his watch but never to answer questions, specifically those of his companion, D3, whom had strapped herself into the emergency crash seats, located for your convenience every 18 feet, and eventually given up trying. Which was what the man in red was hoping for. He turned to Sully.
You know how to drive one of these things, right?
Drive it, lad. I commanded submarines. Now, I'm relatively confident I can steer it over there. Into the bloody ocean for you.
Obviously, not what I had in mind.
It would be the best idea we've had all day.
You know, Sully.
Bright sparks, sizzling with heat, popped and snapped, leaping up from the control panels. Navi shrieked.
What is it with you and ships, old boy? Must you destroy every bloody vessel you board?
Look, you old space fart. This wasn't my idea. Purge bounced us here.
Where the hell is your cheeky box anyways?
Zhang gasped, watching the synthesized metal which encapsulated the hull of the Charybdis as it began to buckle, emitting an awful screeching and wailing throughout the ship.
I don't know.
The man in red typed onto his crimson arm of time.
Purge, little help.
I agree.
The Time Lord squinted at him.
Agree with what?
The retired Commodore lit a cigarette.
That purge is little help.
Well, oh, shut up. She's coming.
The red British phone booth materialized in a flurry of crimson electricity.
What the hell is that?
Stu asked, terrified. Sully flicked his smoke on the floor and ran into the IO-TARDIS, followed by the stranger in the scarlet suit, whom emerged seconds later carrying a long, thick strand of red coral.
Everybody, strap in.
The Time Lord ordered.
D3, get back into purge.
Dawn Rothlanders III did not need to be told twice.
Who the hell are you?
Stu stared at the alien, hurriedly attaching the IO-TARDIS coral interface into the Charybdis navigational override as his red fedora tumbled off his head. The Time Lord said nothing. D3's slender arm reached out, grabbed Stu, and yanked him inside of the time machine. Warlick's seat shook so horrendously that it rattled his large teeth.
We're crashing!
Overhead, the sweet, comforting voice of the ship softly cooed,
Impact imminent in 1 minute.
The man in red's temporal watch began to glow a furious crimson. Crackling red electricity snaked down his arm.
The hell we are!
He slammed his illuminated fist into the navigational terminal. The Millennium Plaza, normally crowded, was even more so now, as petrified tourists and panicked locals shared desperate stares up into the heavens. A massive space vessel turned incendiary device loomed closer and closer, only stories above their collective heads. Due to incidents with what became known as Miracle Day, some were worried that they would actually live through being vaporized. Panic, screams, terror. Whales filled whales. The flaming wreckage of the UFP SS Coryopsis Charybdis was on an imminent path of destruction. Poised over Cardiff, the sheer sight of her choking out the sun, crying, yelling, praying. It was close enough to the ground to feel the heat given off by the flames, when suddenly an electrical storm exploded. People were fleeing in droves, while the furiously whipping wind gave birth to crackling, howling tendrils of crimson electricity. The snakes of raw, red energy encapsulated the Charybdis, causing a strange eclipse. The gigantic vessel hurtled toward the ground, 30 feet away from impact, when it was completely engulfed in scarlet lightning, and vanished. A collective gasp, followed by a void of startling silence, then crept through the plaza. Faint traces of red electricity crackled into nothingness.